Good morning, everybody. How you doing?
Morning,
Fantastic.
Rob.
How you doing?
Glenn, when do you fly?
3 p.m. I'm just on my way back from Watkins Glen.
Well, lovely. How was the activity?
It was
Successful?
a good weekend. Yeah,
Fantastic.
hard to get going when you're prepping to be gone for another week after being gone for that long.
Yeah, well, you've done it repeatedly, so it'll be fine.
Yes, it could be worse. I could not be vacational, right? So
Yeah. Good morning, Kathleen, Michael, Sophia. So,
Morning.
as I was thinking about, what topic for this week, it struck me that I'll bet you our team members, unless we consistently and repeatedly reinforce the lifetime value of a client, a lot of people are missing the forest through the trees, and they're looking for new lead sources and trying to get more leads and neglecting their sphere and their clients. I hate to use the term past clients, but they're neglecting their previous transactions, the participants in the previous transactions. And you can't expect, I think, Michael, we did some role playing with your team. I did some role playing with a couple of different teams in, appointments. I did it for prospecting, and it has to be reinforced, and has to be reinforced to a nauseating effect before it becomes ingrained and part of their real estate DNA. But does anybody remember what the lifetime value of a client is? And it's probably gone up since this stat was quoted. It's like $120,000. And I think if you were to maybe have some of your team members that have been with you for 2 or 3 or 5 years, talk about a client that's done 2 transactions with them since they've been together, and referred them 5 others. I'm sure you all have stories like that. Does that happen by chance? I, I don't think so. I think that happens by design. I think, we set the stage so that, client, our consumers that have had a positive experience with us want to go out of their way to say, reach out to my team member, reach out to me because of this experience. And the value of a transaction, if the average transaction is $10,000 or $12,000, is there anyone that is comfortable just having a simple conversation for a moment where you're at? Good morning, Sophia. So I'm going to see if Kathleen, are you able to unmute for just a moment?
Sure.
So, Kathy, if you do a transaction, you get paid 12, 15. What's your average commission? Probably closer to 15, right?
It's coming up right now this year so far about 660, I think is what it is.
So your commission is probably 15 grand on average, fair to say?
Yeah.
So earning $15,000, like what do we get paid that for? Is it for getting the contacts? Is it for going on the appointment? Is it for keeping in touch with people? Is it for having the skill to put a transaction together? Is it for having the skill to keep the transaction together? Like, what's the main value in your opinion of
Adding value all the way through all that. Actually, I always consider everyone's puzzles different. So figuring out what theirs is and solving everything in it.
Do you ever have to pay like a referral fee for a relocation company and get annoyed by it?
I've paid relocation fees for years and no, because I now have the client for life, so it's okay. And with relo, I would move them in, and it was not that long, and they would move out. So,
We paid out. You're familiar with Cardis, right?
oh, that's gone up since yeah, I mean, that's a lot.
We paid out. We paid out a 45% referral
That's
fee.
too much.
we paid, no, listen, we paid out a 45% referral fee. And I think for a good client that buys, that comes out here and says, I need to buy in 2 days,
Right.
and it's a $16,000 commission, your initial reaction, oh, that's too much.
Oh, it's too much. But I
Right.
mean, it's gone up so much, Rob. I mean, I never used to pay those, but Cardis, I know it's a lot, but I agree with you. It's a faster pace turnaround. It's not months and months of shopping. They have usually 2 days to figure it out. They find it. You're there with them full time, like family, and then they're there. And what I found over the years, because I got my CRP designation because I did a lot of relo. But they would move again, and it was usually a shorter period of time that they would move than a regular transaction.
So what I've just defined, Kathy, is that the lead capture is worth
Right.
45%.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what I'm going to circle back to this with is, how many clients do your team members close that either they're satisfied, but they're not over the top, or they're satisfied, but we dropped the ball on the follow-up system? Because right after they close, what's top of mind? Real estate. Okay. And we need to create those habits of repeating the business from when they close. And we also need to figure out, how do we create a better experience along the way? How do we create a more referable experience? And everybody on this call, sometimes we do things naturally. And I was sitting across yesterday at 2:00, a Remax broker owner who wants to convert his office to a team because he's a very successful individual, does about $9 million worth of business, but he's completely not repeatable. Like, you can't model what he does. He can't even tell you what he does. He just goes there and he comes out with the sale. You probably have seen people in this business that, they always seem to put something together when an opportunity is there, but you couldn't explain to somebody else how they do it. As team leaders, our value is making that process repeatable, and it's reinforcing the message over and over and over again. So, Kathy, if you sell a $4 million house and it's in a $4 million neighborhood, wouldn't you want to give an experience to that client where they're going to refer you to all their friends in the neighborhood? And chances are people that live in $4 million houses have other $4 million homeowners in their network, right? Because people, hang around people like themselves.
True.
So for me, this is something that, when I had that meeting yesterday, it was just so obvious, because, we need to put systems, and we need to keep talking about that lifetime value of a client, the experience, and recognize how much getting that referral is worth. And getting the referral, not just because we're groveling and emailing and mailing, but because we gave a referable experience that we can lean into, right? So what can we do to improve the experience from our consumers by 10%? Anybody? Mike Gopi, what can we do to, huh?
I'll call them just to say hello, go visit them, go visit your clients, call them for their birthdays, holidays, just a follow up. You just don't want to close the transaction and disappear. You want to be there to consistently keep in touch with them.
So, agreed. Now let me ask you this, Michael. You have is it 6 on your team total now, or is it 7?
6.
Okay. Do you think the experience is consistent if somebody were to work with any of your 6 people? Yeah, at least in terms of process.
Yes, I think
skills and
it's
personality, is always going to be unique. But go ahead.
yeah, I think it's very consistent because my name is on the line. So when I train the team and I meet with them frequently, the experience has to be consistent, because even if they go meet with the client, the Gopi Group's name is represented. So it has to be consistent all across the board. But we build our business on customer service first, helping people. So Yes, I would say that all of the agents is consistent all across.
So, and maybe you're doing this, maybe you're not to this point, but if I'm a buyer in your ecosystem, you know, I would probably want to know exactly what that roadmap is. And that might even be, you know what? I call everybody on Tuesday morning and we do a check-in, and then you're either gonna you're gonna push people out because they realize they're not real clients at this point, or they're gonna appreciate that experience, right? I'm gonna send you new properties that come on the market. There's one in particular that I think is really important. I might even text you. Did you see this one? But every Tuesday between 9 and 12, we're going to have a conversation, and that's part of that process, and that's part of elevating the experience and setting better expectations. Because I think a lot of times, you know, participants in the industry, and many of them are on teams at Remax Select, are just doing it randomly. You know, they might say, "Hey, I send them listings. If they're interested, they'll call me." Okay, they don't go through strategically how they complete the transaction, how they get that process done, right? I mean, for example, Michael, at the seminar that you had, I think it was very telling that at the end of the seminar that you did, your agents were more inspired to buy houses, the ones that didn't own. True or false?
True, very true.
How crazy is that?
It's amazing because we did a home seminar with six of us total. Three of our agents is renting. So not only did this seminar educate about, I would say we had about 15 clients there. It educated our teammates. They sat back after the meeting till like 11 p.m. and they were really interested in buying also. So um, I think it went very well for both the team and the clients.
Yeah, and it felt good too, didn't it?
Yeah, it felt great. I want to circle back on one thing you said about the follow up. A common thing I hear from clients is so after they bought their house, I always hear that their realtor disappeared all the time. Never called them again. Completely disappeared. Closed the transaction, got the commission, and never reached out. So I hear that frequently. So just the follow up of talking to them throughout the year is going to be the difference maker.
And if Michael, if we're a little bit more invested in the experience, not just the outcome, then I think it's a lot more comfortable having those conversations with our prior transactions participants, right? Because I struggle with the term client because a lot of people, as soon as the transaction is done, they're no longer their client, right? And I think client for life, like, you know, when somebody buys. And if they decided that they were gonna, you know, buy an investment property, or they decided that they didn't like that house, they wanted a different one, you would be not only disappointed, most of us would probably be disturbed if we didn't get the opportunity, right?
Yes, I agree. Definitely agree. And I wouldn't say they're clients. I take back. I would say they're friends because people do business with you if they like you at the end of the day. So it should be more of a friendship um,
Maybe
with
maybe part of being a client is caring, and you know, and to be honest, Michael, there's probably not everybody that's going to be in your friend category, and you don't want to fake it, but you can be their resource, right? And if we were to invest maybe a little bit more time in elevating the experience instead of chasing the next deal, I think we would be more comfortable um, asking for and attaining repeat business.
agree.
So, like, what are Patrick? Are you able to chime in for a sec?
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. So Patrick, what would be something that you could do during the transaction, right, that would provide more value and elevate the experience for the consumer, which is good, right?
First of all, I would say first and foremost would be communication. And then secondly, I would say knowledge, and some of our referral partners I think are super important. When you have a trusted referral partner that you know is going to take care of the client like they're your own, I think that's really important. I just had a deal where a client had to have mold remediation, a couple other things done, and I had a one-stop shop. where the person could do some of the handyman work, do the mold, do everything else. It was easy for the client, and I think it made the transaction smoother.
That's an excellent point. Because if you allow the clients to pick bad participants in the transaction, that's going to make the experience less favorable, and you're associated with the entire experience, right? You know,
Yes.
I don't know if the Jets won or lost yesterday, but can Aaron Rodgers blame everybody else on the team? He's the quarterback. He's got to take accountability. And when you're running a transaction, who's the quarterback?
Yep.
We're the quarterback of it. So, look, sometimes we take these things for granted as agents, and I think as team leaders, we may do it naturally, but we don't intentionally focus on increasing the experience. And Patrick, I'll bet you there are some people on your team that don't know exactly how you feel about that and the importance of it.
I would agree with that.
And there's probably some people on your team who's like, I don't want to tell my client who to use, because if it goes bad, then I get blamed for it, right?
Or they'll
better-
say, "Oh, I'll have them ask the attorney who they should use."
Oh,
Well,
that's
guess
the
what?
worst.
The attorney
That's
might
the worst.
recommend our person.
But that's the worst,
Yes.
right? And then sometimes, like, anyway, I don't even want to go there, but I'm saying, like, we have to have, as quarterbacks of the transaction, you know, we have to focus on making sure the experience is good, not just our part is good. Because if our part is flawless in terms of, you know, blocking and tackling and doing all the basics, but the others involved in the transaction are casting a cloud on it, guess what? You know, the experience and the desire to refer is not going to be as robust. Okay. And yeah, as I talk about this, it always I think makes me better aware of all the value that's built into the transaction. And I know it's something that, you know, we can do a better job of connecting with the people on our team and talking to them about it, you know, explicitly, right? The value of a qualified lead, a repeat piece of business, is darn close to 50% of the game, right? Because, you know, if somebody said, hey, you know, this person's coming in this weekend, buy a $2 million house, 45% referral fee, I don't think anybody blinks. But yet, you know, we have a abundant list of people that we helped that can be giving us that business with zero referral fees, just because we elevated the experience, because we made sure that that contractor that was out there doesn't screw up the deal and doesn't provide stress or resistance to the process. Mr. Baker, you have any thoughts on that? I know you're driving.
No, I think, you know, the way I put it is we measure it very specifically. So in particular, you know, when we measure every single home that we've sold, and if anyone has sold without us, and so far in the history of the team, only one has. And actually was one that we probably wouldn't want to sell again. We didn't prefer that person. But I think that if you're measuring that type of stuff, and we use Sisu to plan out what I see the vision of our customers interacting with. So I don't leave it for chance. For the agents, I leave it to a checklist, and they are the ones that deliver that experience based on the checklist. So, yeah.
What's your thought? Do you do post-closing surveys?
No. I'm a little jaded on those after we had those in the corporate world for everything under the sun, and they usually weren't terribly representative of things.
Right. So I agree with you. I have a bias against it. But let me ask you, if you had done surveys and people gave you some consistent communications about, hey, it was a great experience, but these one or two things could have been done differently, would that be valuable as a team leader?
Oh, well, yeah. So we don't send something out. We do that at our final walkthrough. We ask them, you know, what they thought of the experience, what could we have done better, and what's the one thing that stood out for them. But we really do that because we're trying to get in their head what they're going to give us at a review time, which we're going to ask for in a day.
Right. And I don't know that sometimes they might be less biased at that point. I mean, less transparent at that point in time. in my opinion. But, if you got great surveys, wouldn't that give you also a ability to celebrate the experience with your team members? And also to recognize what you might be able to do to improve?
Yeah, it's interesting because we do, Homes for Heroes does that for our transactions, and they come through and we celebrate those. I don't think, now you're saying it, I don't think it's much different.
So, this wasn't on my list, but as I'm talking through this, I'm just thinking to myself, you know, I don't know, maybe I need to send everybody, all of you, a survey and tell you what could I do better, right? That, I would want honest feedback on that.
Yeah.
So.
One other
just-
thing, Rob, capitalizing on this piece, when we close the transaction, we immediately start to, I don't want to use the word solicit, but market to the other side. Because we know that the agents fade away and we're not going to.
Yeah, you remember, didn't Julie leave a gift on the listings, right?
Yeah.
Julie Vanderblue, I love that idea.
Yep.
So one of probably the most successful team in Connecticut, you know, she has like a care package that she leaves when she sells her listing for the homeowner. You know, I don't know, maybe it's like a $50 investment, right? But then the homeowner has all of her contact information and something that provides a little bit of value. What was that package? Do you recall, Glenn, or no?
That was her discount package with all the printed out items. We used
yeah,
the card.
Yep, all the people in the neighborhood and
Yeah.
hey, I mean, thinking outside the box.
And they immediately go on our client event list because we treat them like they're a client. So they get invited to our events the day after they close.
So anyway, I hope this gives you a, you know, a different lens to look at, you know, how to define the, I guess the experience that your team gives, right? And for better or worse too, Glenn, if you have somebody on your team that delivers a subpar experience, it's indirectly and potentially affecting everybody else on the team, right?
Yeah, that's 100%. Yep. And that's why that consistency in the messaging and such. I think it all comes from the top too, and sending a standard. And if you set the bar low enough, anyone's going to meet it.
And I forget where I was, but I might have been at a hotel, or I don't remember what vendor it was, but there was a bunch of these little cards there. It says, "Hey, if anybody went out of their way to give you a good experience, you know, share it with us so that we can celebrate it with them," or something like that. And it felt different than just saying, "Hey, give us a review," right? Yeah, because if somebody really went above the experience, then they'll fill it out, and somebody might even take the time to fill it out if there was an opportunity to improve it, which are all good for, you know, for us to build scalable, repeatable business. And, you know, we have to look at our mistakes too. Those are opportunities.
I think one other measurement, Rob, that's really interesting is watching how fast you can get agents to refer, right? Because that tells you, that's an indicator of who's doing the proper follow-ups with their database.
Oh, how about, Glenn, how about this for a crazy, stupid idea, right? Let's even think about it as team leaders, right? Are your team members going out of their way to refer the other side of transactions that were awesome agents without having to ask? You're like, hey, you should be on the Morris agent team, you know, because X, Y, and Z.
We actually have that in our checklist. Post-closing, I get a notice saying this agent closed the business with your person. I'll call the agent and say, what did you think of them? And if they're good, then I immediately send a video saying, hey, Stephen said great things about you. Like to meet you for coffee. In fact, I'm meeting someone at 11 o'clock today that exact thing happened with.
It's fantastic. All right. Well, does anybody else have anything else to contribute? But I will just say, like, as we go through these topics, you know, just, you know, one idea, one concept just begs or invites another one in that help to complete, you know, the team, the consumer experience, and it's all good.
I have a question for the teams here. Is anyone using anything beyond postcards that's automated post-close or some kind of system that they subscribe to?
Anybody? Sophia, did you do anything with your former company now? for post closings? You're on mute. While Sophia is doing that, Justin, how about you? Did you do anything?
Good morning. Nothing that's automatic. We just have Sync that has certain reminders that we have set up that as a team we just hit on, but nothing that's automatic. Of course, we do Popeyes, so we'll be getting ready to do the candy. So past post close clients that have children will drop off some candy. But again, answer directly, nothing automatic.
Fantastic. Sophia?
My old company didn't do anything automatic. I just have everything set up for me personally to stay in touch with everyone. So I do quarterly touches. I actually send like hand thank you notes at the end of closing, those type of things. And just as you were earlier talking about, just really trying to create friendships that'll last with clients.
Now,
Yeah, if you
Glenn,
do a good job, throughout the course of the transaction, they're going to appreciate you, and you have to stay in touch with them. You got to keep in touch with them on a quarterly basis. That's what we do. And we also send out, little gifts, maybe a gift card to a restaurant or to a Home Depot, depending on that. But mostly it's if they need help with fixing things up, sometimes, we even chip in and we even help out. Say, you need somebody to help you with that removal of the tree. We'll refer a company to them. And a lot of times we adopt buyers from other agents. So if I'm a listing agent, I got a buyer from another agent, most likely the agent's not going to follow up with it. And I usually follow up 2 weeks later, either go to the house and knock on the door, say, hey, is everything okay? I mean, is there anything we can help you with? And I adopt them as a past client.
Ron, what's a great experience that I heard about, and it happened totally by coincidence. But how many times do you have a seller that moves out and then they're like, oh, you know what, I found the warranty paperwork, or I found something that belongs to the house, right? And
Yes.
How great would it be for you to say, you know what, can you drop it by the office, or I'll come pick it up, and then you get to meet the client that moved out or one side, and then you get to deliver it to the other side of the transaction. Most agents are like, well, it's annoying. Now you're gonna pick this up and drop it off there, right? Now you're
That's
with me,
great.
you think,
Yeah.
but do you think most people would be like annoyed? I totally guarantee they're gonna
No.
be annoyed. No, but most agents, most of your peers, but you realize that there's a value to that, correct?
Yeah,
And
of
maybe
course.
like to Glenn's with his accountability systems, and we should all copy what works. But Glenn, maybe there should be you stop by within 21 to 35 days of the closing, and that's built into the system, right?
Yeah, we do have that. And also one thing I do, because I'm forgetful and I don't always follow my own checklist. I created a series of voicemail drops that act like I called them, and it leaves it, and then it has them call me back. That way I can't miss. So it drops at day 30, drops at day 60. Hey, I know you need some contractors, just checking in. Give me a call if you need anybody. And I'm sorry I missed you. Like, I literally just voicemail drop it. So because I'll forget.
And Glenn, remind me of the service that does that. I know what it is.
Drop Cowboy is what I use.
That's not the one I was thinking of. Drop Cowboy. I mean, that's great. And maybe Glenn, for your team, build in a system where maybe you have them come to at one of your office meetings and say, hey, who's on their 30th anniversary? Here's a gift card, $10 gift card, or you have them buy their own gift cards and make sure they drop them off.
Yeah, it's great.
Right, a $10 Starbucks gift card. They go over there and they might say, oh, it's great, or I have this issue, and an opportunity to solve for a problem gives you the ability to earn a referral. But I know we're at 9:01. I want to be respectful of all your time, and I learned so much from these conversations. I really can't tell you how much, but I hope I give a little bit back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate
Bye,
it.
guys.
Thank you, Rob. We appreciate you, man.
All right, I appreciate you more. Bye, everybody.